All right. Welcome to the Books, Beards, Booze podcast, where we drink booze, have beards, and talk books. This is our weekly short read tall glass episode, where we chat about the latest book news, as well as doing a deep dive on our short story of the week, which this week is What You Pawn, I Will Redeem by Sherman Alexie. I'm Bob of TalesbyBob.
And I'm Derek of the Endless Nation.
And we're coming to you once more from the future or the past. I can never quite remember. Because as you're listening to this, me and Derek and Superfan Tanya are in Las Vegas. What? Doing nothing at all related to books, but lots to do with booze.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That's a safe
yeah, that's bet. A safe bet. So we're going to go get real crunk. But because of that, like we are always going to do on our ones where we have to record them in advance, we're not going to bring you any news because we just don't know what news there is. So we're also, as we speak, we're sitting in my house getting ready to party for my birthday, which is going to be wildly debaucherous. So we didn't go out and sample a bunch of beers like we planned to do on these. So instead, we thought we'd give you a little bit of our history with alcohol.
In our defense on that first part is, if we pre-gamed before the party, we would die.
Well, yeah. Well, we are kind of our thing is we're recording this, and then we've got to run to town, which I live in the middle of nowhere. Run to town, buy a bunch of booze and supplies, come back, and then we're probably going to record a bonus episode that's going to be a drinking game. So
what could possibly go wrong?
Right. But I have to be sober enough to get us to town and back. So, woo! All right.
Game on.
So, talking about our history with alcohol, what was the first? How old were you first time you drank?
First time I drank was when I was 20, my 20th birthday.
Yeah.
A year
and
before,
what was it?
It was Aftershock.
Oh, that's right. Oh, you drank the whole bottle and then ate the fucking crystals.
I know. I never did. That was the worst part about it. I was trying to drink the whole bottle so that I could get to the crystals because I was told the crystals were fantastic. Got all the way to the bottom where it was just this tiny bit, just a little bit above the crystals, and then was like, oh, I'm not feeling so great.
Yeah.
And then almost got sick, didn't, and then never actually finished the bottle to try the crystals.
Yeah, fuck that. I was 14, and a member of my family, not a close member, like a kind of a distant relation of sorts, was cooking me and my stepbrother lunch. And while they were cooking, it's like they just reached into the liquor cabinet, pulled out some strawberry moonshine, and were like, "Here, try this." So we each took a swig, and then they just went through the pantry like, "Here, have a sip of this, have a sip of this, have a sip of this." And amazingly, I didn't puke. I got drunk though, but I then promptly ate. Memory serves, it was country fried steaks, so I had a big country fried steak, and I think that kind of soaked up a lot of the liquor.
What a great uncle, cousin.
It wasn't. I don't want to say too much because that was definitely illegal, but it was like a step relative of a step relative kind of deal.
Okay.
So, not super close. But yeah, I appreciate it to this day. It was a great start. After that, I didn't drink again till I was 15, 16, I think. Yeah. And
wow, a whole 2 years. Yeah, that was a long time.
Right? Yeah, I think it was mid-16, and not to name names, but someone's brother.
By the way you cut those eyes at me, I think I know who you're talking about.
Might have had a hookup to buy us. At that point, I started drinking Smirnoff Ice.
Ooh.
Me and my best friend at the time, I would get a 6-pack of Smirnoff Ice. He would get a 6-pack of Smirnoff Triple Black. And I would drink 5. If I drank 6, I'd be sick. If I could drink 5, that was hardcore.
There you go.
And that's what got me through high school. Just a bunch of that.
After the Aftershock, the first thing that I drank consistently, which I drank the first time for my 20th birthday. And that was after I moved out because it was like I'm not going to do that when I'm living with my parents. But when I finally did, I think I started drinking what are the Smirnoff like green apple.
Oh yeah, Twist. Smirnoff Twist.
I guess that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
They had like three. I know they had 3 different flavors.
Yeah,
like,
but
they had one with a pink, like a purple top, one with a green top, and I want to say one other.
I don't know. They had an apple type
I do
drink,
remember that,
and I drank those. That's what I drank. And
God, we were so hard.
Well, I wasn't trying to be hard. I was trying to find something that tasted good that I could stomach.
Yeah.
And then that went. Then, as I tried to drink other things and I actually developed tolerance, I decided later to try and go back and drink those.
Oh, you can't.
No, you can't.
The social club I'm in, whenever someone patches in, we ice them, which we hand them a Smirnoff ice or whatever ice, a Bud ice, a Nat ice, whatever ice we can find in the closest gas station, and they have to hit a knee, and they can't stand up until they finish it. They're supposed to down it in one go.
How big of an ice?
The biggest we can find, which it's Alabama, so it's not like we can get a 40. But
y'all still assholes for that.
Oh, it's rough, but it's a kind of a rite of passage with us. Like everyone gets iced coming in. So
y'all dumb.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, I didn't say it was a good idea.
Yeah, no, it's. But yeah, after high school, once I got to college, my go-to drink was Boone's Farm, Fuzzy Navel. I would drink any of them except for
But then, aren't you skipping when you used to make the punch?
Well, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
My go-to drink was Boone's Farm, any flavor except for sangria. Because why the fuck do they make sangria? I also didn't like the blue, which was coconut, but if in a pinch, I would do.
I don't even remember.
But I would drink 2.
I don't think I've ever had it.
I would typically drink 2,
and then promptly vomit.
Well, yeah.
No, I think that was when you drank 3.
Oh yeah, it would get tragic then. But the thing now, I went back 2 or 3 years ago and drank Boone's Farm. By the time I was sick before I finished it, it had no buzz.
It's too sweet.
It's too sweet.
Yeah.
But around that same time though is when we started making Hunch Punch at the parties there.
I didn't realize you were drinking those before you started doing the Hunch Punch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we would make I think the most we ever made at one go was probably 20 odd gallons of Hunch Punch, but normally it's about 12 gallons. And we used to make it with the fruit. And then
I'm so glad I missed those days.
Oh God.
That was right
when
before
when we made it with the fruit. I would get real drunk, and ex-wife Tanya / superfan Tanya made us stop making it with the fruit because I would get real drunk and I would throw the fruit into the ceiling fan because I like to watch it splatter on the walls. So
go figure. That probably wasn't the best idea.
When people ask what happened, if you hear giggling in the background or someone eating chips obnoxiously loud, superfan Tanya is in the background.
Doing an admirable job of not losing her shit while we're sitting here talking about things that she knows intimately.
Yeah, but people ask, man, y'all get along pretty well. Why did y'all split? And I was I think about this every time. Where
ceiling fans?
No, the ceiling fan, that was minor. But no, after a party one night, she got up she had to be up for work like 6 o'clock or something like that. And she went into the bathroom. And I had puked in the shower, and the chewed up pieces of fruit in my puke had clogged the tub. So the tub was filled with 2 inches of pink vomit. She had to clean it out so she could take a shower to go to work. And that's what I think of every time. Why did y'all split? It's that right there.
Well, that probably sure didn't help.
Me, I would have just been well, you know what? I'm going to go pack my stuff, and I'm out.
Right then and there.
Right then and there.
Allah.
But yeah, so that was tragic. But then I don't know. Hunch Punch, Boone's Farm for a long time. Then I really got into vodka. I drank screwdrivers exclusively for
a long time.
For years.
Yeah.
I loved a screwdriver, and I basically just had one too many bad experiences. Mostly because I was buying Aristocrat, and that was.
Because you're fancy?
Goddamn tragic. Tragic. Ugh. But, yeah, drinking those. And then, I don't know, about 27 or so, I started drinking 27, 28. Yeah, we'll call it 28. I started drinking beer and started drinking whiskey. And I've never gone back.
That's because that's what you should do.
Yeah, I learned to drink High Life, and I still love High Life to this day. And I learned to drink on Heaven Hill, and still my favorite to this day. What I'll be drinking later tonight.
Inevitably.
Yeah, later tonight I'll be drinking a astronomical amount of Heaven Hill.
I hope I'm out before you hit that astronomical mark.
Nah, probably not.
What's like 2 steps down so that when you hit that point, I can be like, holla, gotta go home now. See ya.
No, we're gonna get you so drunk that you just like,
oh please,
you crawl, you crawl into some corner and pass out.
I got things to do tomorrow, man. But let's see. After I drank the Smirnoff, whatever the nonsense was, I think I started drinking.
It was Twist.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think after that I started drinking rum and Coke.
I do recall you having a rum phase.
I did have a rum phase. I think that's what it was. Well, actually, between then and there, I learned to drink beer, which was a fun experience because my roommate and friend Shay decided to teach me to drink beer, and what he did was, we were living together. It was in the middle of summer. He was like, we're going to go and sit on the back porch with a cooler filled with full-flavored beers, and we're not allowed to come back inside until we've drank all the beers. And it's hot as balls out there, so I'm like, okay.
That's not a bad way to do it.
But see, we did that 2 weekends in a row, and I was like, oh, these things are so strong. And then and then come up the third weekend, he's like, we're gonna do it again. I'm like, oh no. But instead of buying full flavored stuff, he bought Coors Light, and that went down like water. And I was like, oh okay, I can. Oh, this is nothing now. Yeah. And that's how that worked. Yeah. It worked really well. So good on you, Shay.
Yeah, no, that's smart. I started drinking beer because of a girl I was dating, and she just drank a lot of beer, and
then I drank rum.
Drank a lot.
Then I drank 151,
which is bold choice.
Yes, fair, but at one point I was told that I would drink it straight, and I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. Oof. I don't remember that. Yeah. But then again, if I was drinking 151 straight, I wouldn't remember that. Yeah. So.
No.
Then I finally got to whiskey. Mutual friend Bane kind of taught me to drink whiskey straight, which was the best thing that ever happened because mixing, it gives me a headache and stuff like that, and I can drink whiskey and I feel fine the next day.
Yeah. Beer. If I drink beer, I'm just going to have a headache the next day.
Exactly.
That's guaranteed. But I drink whiskey and Cokes pretty much exclusively when I drink, and I very rarely does it get tragic.
Yeah.
Basically, I can drink whiskey and Cokes all night and have no problems. If I start doing shots, if I do too many shots, that's when stuff goes awry. But it's my birthday, so there's no way I'll be doing any shots tonight.
No. But yeah, I shifted over to whiskeys and bourbon and stuff like that. And now my tried and true is the Jim Beam Black, which I love. That it's real simple, it's cheap, and it's good. Yeah. So I just kind of go with that. I think I don't think I've had any other phases of.
No, that's
pretty
all
much
my
it.
phases.
Yeah.
I've learned that I don't like drinking tequila, but I love to shoot tequila. Gin is awful, and fuck Jaeger, fuck Goldschlager, fuck anything pepperminty or cinnamony.
Not a huge fan of mixed drinks, just because I don't like making them. Because I'm lazy.
I do love a good blue motherfucker or a Long Island iced tea.
Yeah.
But I'm never gonna make them.
Not a chance.
No, but I will get the fuck out of them at a bar. The bar in Troy, the Double Branch, they used to do like $5 styros of blue motherfuckers.
Oh, and fuck Jaeger bombs.
Yeah, fuck a Jaeger bomb.
Oh my god.
I have a little bit of Jaeger in my freezer right now. Someone just left here after a party, and I'm never gonna drink it. So.
It was messed up because the Jaeger bomb I had way too much
energy drink.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ.
I roadied for a band one time up to a metal fest that was sponsored by an energy drink, and in the area that the band was allowed, they had free vodka bombs. And I got hopped up on vodka bombs and got in the pit, broke my wrist in a wall of death. It was great. Good times.
Is that when you broke your wrist?
Yeah.
That seems legit.
Yep. Had to roadie out the rest of the weekend with a broke wrist. Never went to the doctor. Just wrapped in ace bandage for 6 months.
He's an idiot. Yep.
So, the joys of not having health insurance. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's pretty much the extent of our
drinking.
I like how
a little bit
just,
about us.
Just kind of ends with us both going, let's just go with the whiskey. Let's just stay there.
It's best.
It's the comfortable.
It's best.
Yeah, it is. It's what's best in life.
It's what's best in life. All right. So we don't have a sponsor yet, but if we did, it might be these people. Been traveling? Hungry? Thirsty? Need to stretch your legs? Why not stop at the inn of the last home? Built into the boughs of a mighty valenwood tree, proprietor Otik Sandeth invites you to come by and try his famous spiced potatoes. Sample their many fine ales while enjoying the view from their treetop dining. If there's a better place from which to start a quest, well, I certainly haven't heard of it. That's for all you Dragonlance fans out there. Alright, so let's dive into our short story Tall Glass. This week, it is What You Pawn I Will Redeem by Sherman Alexie, and it is my favorite story that we have read so far. The dead kid one. Cancer baby. What was that story?
Tiny Feast?
Tiny Feast. Tiny Feast was my favorite until this one.
I think Tiny Feast is still... no, I think I liked it even more than I liked last week's.
This is my favorite.
Yeah.
So, before diving into the discussion, let's talk a little bit about the history of Sherman Alexie. He's an indigenous American author from the Northeast. He was born in 1966, and he grew up on the Spokane Indian Reservation and now lives in Seattle, Washington. He's best known for writing The Lone Ranger and Tonto Fist Fight in Heaven, which is a collection of short stories that was made into a movie called Smoke Signals.
Oh.
Haven't seen it?
I know of the movie, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. He's won a bunch of awards and then had a bunch of them taken back, which we'll go into, but we'll go into that at the end. So when he was 6 months old, he had to have brain surgery. He was born with hydrocephaly, like brain swelling, like fluid on the brain. And he was at high risk of death or mental disabilities if he survived, but it was successful. He had no mental damage, but he did have some other side effects. Both of his parents were alcoholics. Until age 7, he suffered from seizures and bedwetting. He had to take drugs to control that shit. And then he got picked on a lot in school, yada, yada, yada. It's not a good time. Had a real rough childhood. It's the moral of that story. So he enrolled in pre-med because he's real smart guy. So he enrolled in pre-med thinking he's going to become a doctor, but he did not. He was a little too squeamish, and like the dissections couldn't handle it. So he switched to law. Didn't like that though, and but he felt like all this pressure, like, oh, I've got to succeed. So that he started drinking way too heavily to deal with the anxiety. Unhappy with his law classes, he found comfort in literature classes. And now he's Sherman Alexie. His poetry, short stories, and novels explore themes of despair, poverty, violence, and alcoholism among the lives of Native American people, both on and off the reservation. They are lightened by wit and humor, which is very evident in this story. And it says, Alexie asked 3 questions across all of his works. What does it mean to live as an Indian in this time? What does it mean to be an Indian man? Finally, what does it mean to live on an Indian reservation? So, yeah. And the kind of the elephant in the room is he something like, I don't know, like 18 women or something like that.
No, that's different. That was the guy from the Nobel.
That's right.
Yeah.
A woman came out and said that he sexually harassed her, and that a bunch of other women had come forward. I think
some other ones did. Yeah.
A bunch of other women came forward at the same time. Well, it was then revealed that the woman that initially claimed that they'd actually had a relationship, and it was a little like there was the waters were real muddied on that, but it was like so many other women came out that it was like, even if the first woman like they were in a relationship. Maybe she was a jealous lover or something like that. Like,
the rest of them probably not.
Yeah. It's like not all these women are going to come. Like, and then he
was like, you know what?
Like weeks later, he acknowledges it, and he's like, I've been a shit in a lot of women's cut. So fuck me. And he got a bunch of awards taken away from him.
I know he actually refused to accept one, and then they took the other one. An
award. I thought you meant refused.
An award.
Yeah, he refused to accept that woman, but then in his
I see what you're saying.
In his he's like, no, we had a relationship, and she did some crazy stalkery kind of stuff. But yes, I have done some really shit things. I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That one is a lot of he said, she said. But the fact that all these other women came out and backed that up is like, yeah, kind of fuck him, fuck that guy.
Shitty.
They may have had a relationship, but he definitely has a pattern of being a shit. Yeah. So fuck that guy. But this is a really good story.
Yeah, I was about to say, don't approve of his methods, but his output is very good.
Yeah, no. So this story is great. So what is your fact about this story?
I mean, my fact is that he refused to accept a specific award when this whole scandal stuff started. I read about it a couple of weeks ago. When we were planning this, I went ahead and found the news about him.
Yeah.
But that was a while ago, so more things have happened since then. But basically what you just talked about was...
Yeah. My fact is that in the story, there's a homeless support group kind of deal that sells newspapers called Real Change. I looked it up. That's a real thing.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
Real Change is a weekly progressive street newspaper. It's written by professional staff and sold by self-employed vendors, many of whom are homeless. The idea is it's supposed to be an alternative to panhandling. Like instead of people going out there and just asking for money, it's like, oh, we'll sell these. It became weekly in 2005, making it the second American street newspaper to ever be published weekly. It now has a weekly circulation of about 16,000 papers. In the story, they're $1, but in 2013, they actually price increased to $2, and they instead of paying 30 cents for them, the vendors pay 60 cents.
Yeah.
So it covers local news, but it still like really focuses on like homeless and social justice issues and stuff like that. And the reason that they went to weekly is because they're like, a lot of people were just buying it for charity, and they're like, no, we also want this to be like legitimate source of news. Like we want people to buy it for the news, but also buy it to help people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, really cool. It'd be great if Montgomery had something like that.
So
if Montgomery had something like that, I would write for it for free.
Yeah. But now that I think about it, I have a different fact. Now that since we talked so much about Sherman Alexie's problems and all that, my second fact is, since we're talking about Native Americans and stuff, there's a fantastic comic book called Scalped.
Yes.
That was written by a man from Alabama.
Yeah.
So
Jason Aaron.
Jason Aaron
touched on a lot of the similar themes. Much darker, though.
Much darker. At some point, one of us might end up doing a review of it because it's an amazing.
I'm going to do a reread on it here soon. So
and I've got the trades, most of the trades too. So and I just found them recently.
I'm only missing 3 of the trades, I think.
Yeah, so. But it's an exceptional story, and I thought I'd mention it since Native Americans and the writers from here. So.
Also, I'm a huge piece of shit, and forgot to talk about this week's Tall Glass.
Yeah.
This week's Tall Glass is the Seattle Sidecar, because this story takes place in Seattle. It's an ounce triple sec, an ounce of apple cider, although you can replace it with apple juice, and a half ounce of lime juice. Mix it all in a cocktail. Good. Yeah, mix it all in a cocktail shaker. Shake it up. Strain it into a sugar-rimmed glass. And
they have me till the sugar.
Well, I mean, that's just garnish, more or less. I mean, you don't have to put the sugar on the rim.
I mean, I guess.
So, but yeah, that sounds good. So this story, I really enjoyed it. Like I said, it was my favorite. I just really like the first time I read it, I was like, God, this is he's such a good guy. Like, I just love this guy. Like, the second read through, I was like, he's a good guy, but he does a lot of shitty things along the way too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I was looking at it through like rose-colored glasses the first time I read it because like I have a real soft spot for like homelessness and like hitchhikers and stuff like that. So I definitely viewed it through like the best of all possible lights the first time. But the second time I kind of did a deeper read on it. I was like, okay, still a good guy, but he does like, I mean, he robs his buddy, you know, like goes through his shoes and takes the money that he has and, you know, stuff like that. Like he does some shitty things along the way. But like, it's basically one of those deals like at his core, he's a good dude, I think. And because anytime he gets money, he spends it on other people for the most part. Like, he might come about the seed money in a shit way, but in the end, he definitely shares the wealth amongst his friends. So,
he's an interesting character.
He is.
I think it's interesting just that pretty much everyone he comes into contact with pretty much likes him. So he, like, the cop likes him, the Mary that he's in love with.
Yeah.
Pretty much they trust him to use the bathrooms that they don't
right.
let normal people use, stuff like that. So that was interesting.
But pretty much anyone he comes in contact with him dies.
Yeah. From that...
Here's an interesting thing that I thought when the story starts out, he talks about like, you know, is basically like me and my posse are going along here, but it also seems like they weren't really as tight as he implied.
No,
like that they weren't necessarily his, like they were just his three. That was his posse at the moment. But
so here's what that made me think, and that's he's not a very good person because a lot of the stuff that he. First of all, he makes a point of saying Indians lie. We're myth. We they make things up constantly. So a lot of the stuff I kind of feel like it's probably not trustworthy.
Yeah.
And then it seems
a very untrusting narrator.
Yeah, because he expresses how close they are, and then they just they're there a couple of hours, and then they bounce, and he steals from one of them. And I mean, basically he paints himself a lot of ways as a selfless person because, like you said, he shares his money. But I don't really look at it that way. I look at it as him being a selfish person, and he's just impulsive when he has money and just spends it willy-nilly. Because like half the time that he's using his money, it's not even necessary. It could be that I think it's more that he's just using it on what he wants to use it on, and he has people with you, and he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. But I think it's more of an impulse problem. Not to say he's a bad person necessarily, just that I don't think it's him trying to help people. I think it's more just him doing what he wants at that given moment and not thinking about the consequences of it. Yeah. Because a lot of, because how much money does he earn over the course of this?
He wins $100 on the
ticket.
The ticket, but he immediately gives 20 away.
And then he gets like 30 from the policeman.
He gets 30 from the policeman. Mm-hmm. And he gets given 20 by the pawn guy. Mm-hmm. So that 20 he buys liquor for everybody. With the 100 or the 80 he buys shots for everybody. With the 30 he buys lunch for everybody.
Yeah. But see, my thing is like if he was that concerned, I feel like if he had kept all that money, he probably then he made some money off of the papers too, didn't he?
$5. He got given.
Oh, that's right. He threw them all away.
Yeah, he threw them all away. Yeah. I'll say this: there is also a cultural element here that we might be like, and I may get this kind of wrong. This may not be, but I know West Indian tribes that potlucks, where it's like the chief, he gets stuff, but they hold these potlucks where he gives a lot of it back out to the tribe. So he could view himself as a chief-like figure in this.
But
so
if
when
he does,
he
doesn't express it that way. Because at no point does he ever even talk about, even imply that he's a leader in any way.
Yeah.
Is my thing.
Yeah. I understand there could be a cultural element there of he's got, so he feels culturally that he needs to.
Well, he specifically gives $20 to the lady when he went. Yeah. Which that's part of that. But I don't know. Yeah. it's interesting, and after he specifically says that, they're myth tellers and tall tales.
Okay.
I mean, it's like,
I hadn't really considered that. Here's the main thing I want to talk about.
And it just makes me wonder if all those interactions that he had with people where they seemed to like him, whether or not that was bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What? I wish...
And he just randomly starts a fight with a dude and gets his ass kicked. Like, what?
Yeah.
That's a shitty thing to do.
Well,
the guy was just like,
drunk.
hey, I know. That doesn't excuse it.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying he was super drunk. Like, so... so here's the thing that I'm most interested to ask. Was the pawn shop a supernatural occurrence? Or no? Because he talks about, like, the first time, he's never seen that pawn shop before. Mm-hmm. And then it's got his grandmother's regalia in there. What are the fucking odds? And then, when he goes back the second time, he looks and looks and looks and can't find it. Like, the places where he's like, I know it was here, and it's not. And then it turns up. And then the pawn shop guy just ends up like, well, did you... Like, the pawn shop guy gave him $20, and he comes back, he's only got $5. He's like, well, how much do you have? Oh, I've got $5. He's like, he didn't even have the 20 that the pawn shop guy gave him, He's like, well, did you work for it? He's like, well, yeah, I did. And it can be argued that he did.
It can also be argued that he didn't.
Yeah. It could be a lot of luck, but some people say you make your own luck, and that's its own kind of work.
Yeah, that's not what that saying means.
But, so, like, I like to think it was a supernatural event.
I like to think this entire story was bullshit. But that doesn't mean it's not interesting.
Yeah, I loved it.
And I thought it was well told in a lot of different ways. Yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but it seems like and part of what makes me think that is the fact that he keeps referencing, like, oh, then, this person disappeared. I heard they went up there. Like, how would you know?
Yeah.
Like, who would really have told you that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like after he makes a point at the very beginning to talk about the fact that they make things up.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of seems real convenient and is the best possible light in every single opportunity. I don't know.
Huh. It could all just be a myth that he's telling.
If so, it was a good myth. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I liked it. I liked it. What was your favorite line?
Mine wasn't necessarily a line. It was a couple of lines, but I'm going to use it anyways. It was close to the beginning, and it goes like this. I didn't break hearts into pieces overnight. I broke them slowly and carefully. I didn't set any land speed records running out of the door. Piece by piece, I disappeared, and I've been disappearing ever since.
Yeah. That was good. That whole paragraph kind of where he describes himself, I thought that was magnificent.
Yeah, and I think that is not only just really well written, but when you think about his story, it's interesting because he says he's the one that's disappearing, but everybody around him is disappearing.
Yeah.
As he goes, like all the people all the homeless people and the Indians that he hits up, they just disappear. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
Like the ones that he gets drunk with just bounce on him.
I cannot pronounce
disappear
any
into the
word
water.
correctly. Yeah.
And then like his friends from the beginning. Yeah.
That was great. That was my runner-up favorite. That whole exchange about the Hank Williams.
Yeah.
That was my second favorite. But I just really liked towards the end. Why do my favorite lines always come from the fucking end? But
because that's what really good writers do. They make sure that they have a really impact. They start off with really pretty prose, and then they hit you really hard with a final sentence. It seems like. Yeah. It's something I've noticed.
Mine was, do you know how many good men live in this world? Too many to count. So, I just really like that.
Yeah, there was another... Since you mentioned it, I'm going to read... Do you guys know any songs, I asked? I know all of Hank Williams. What about Indian songs? Hank Williams is Indian. What about sacred songs? Hank Williams is sacred.
Love it. Love it. All right, you got anything else you want to
add? I want to say there was one last thing, but I can't remember what it was, so I guess it wasn't that important.
All right. Well, Next week, we're going to be reading A Good Man is Hard to Find by Flannery O'Connor.
Which I remember reading in school.
Yeah, I've read most of Flannery O'Connor. Warning, there is some language, a lot of racist terminologies in there.
Yeah.
Just a heads up.
Don't be shocked.
Don't be shocked. Not an endorsement, just a warning. But it's a good read. Check it out. That's your bonus for listening in. We don't have any viewer mail because we're in the future, past Vegas. But if you would like to send us some, please do. Email us at booksbeardsbooze at gmail.com, or just basically search Books, Beards, Booze on Google, and you'll find all our plethora of social media and whatnot. Finally, I'm just going to challenge you to go forth and grow a great beard.